So next thing we're gonna do is install the y-axis rod here. So what this is gonna do is this motor is gonna turn this, and it's gonna make sure each side is pulled the same back and forth. That way it keeps your beam straight as we're doing this and keeps all this aligned. Okay, so first of all, we've got these self-aligning bearings. So what I'm going to need to do is crack them. And it just sort of means loosen them. Like, I'm not trying to like break them or anything, but as I pry on this, if you heard that, now it can move pretty freely, right? As long as I'm not too deep. There we go. All right. That way it'll self-align as I put this in. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. A little more room over here. There we go. So it should move somewhat more freely once it's cracked here. Try to straighten it a little bit. Something like that. Okay. So here I'm going to take my rod here. And oh, before I do that, I'm going to make sure the grubs are pulled all the way out, because that will really get in your way. See this one? This one I think is pretty good. Yeah, that's out of there. This one could come out a little bit. All right, you're going to do the same thing over here. It's got two little grubs. Pull it out. Pull it out. Cool. Okay. For reals. Going to install the rod here. There we go. It slides in nicely. Okay. So it slides in nicely. There we go. And as I flex this rod, I can feel the things lining up. Cool. And so once we start spinning it, then we'll give it a final alignment. But for now, we're going to add the sprocket here. So teeth towards the bearing here. Okay. And then we're going to put a coupler on it. And there's not quite enough room, but that's all right, because we knew we were going to have to move this anyways. So I'm going to loosen up these for it and give this whole bar a move. Okay. There we go. And then coupler about halfway through or so. Oh, need to pull these grubs out too. Okay. There we go. And about halfway in there, you can kind of see between the springs here where we're at. The reason why we don't want it all the way in is because we want the springs to be able to flex. So if we don't get this perfectly aligned, like there's a tiny bit of flex here that can add some forgiveness to that. So here we go, tightening this up. Okay, tightening this other screw up. Now I'm going to push it into this. Okay, so it's going to be pushed against, and then I'll give it a tiny bit of room. Okay, just a tiny little bit here. And then I'm going to tighten this. Okay, that's tight. And then the other grub screw. All right, so I know it still moves like this. That's fine. Okay, but now we got to line this guy up, which will be quite a funny little mess here. So it's a bit tall right now. So loosen these guys holding the bracket on, right? Okay, gonna slide it down just a little bit. Guess I gotta get it looser. There we go, okay. So that looks like it'll slide right in. Cool. So tighten one of these. All right, recheck it. Yep. That's looking pretty good. Cool. Okay. And then tighten the other one back here. Okay. and then torquing them down. All right, so now I'm going to slide this in here. Let's see, making sure it doesn't have a shaft. Some of these NEMA 23s have a shaft or a D shaft on the output. This one doesn't, so we're good here. Okay, so now I just push it in there, slide it on. There it goes. Very nice. And I don't want it all the way deep. Again, I want that spring to be able to flex. But once it's in there, now I can retighten my bar here. And I should never have to change that. So even if I have to replace my NEMA 23, it should just line right back up to the bar. So no big deal. Whoops. All right. And then we're going to tighten the coupler on. Okay, so that's one grub. That's the other grub here. Okay, so you're going to try turning this, and if it's not quite turning right, make sure your wires aren't touching each other, okay? Because if your wires are grounded out, you're literally trying to like make electricity and grounding it out, so it won't spin nicely. But while the wires are not touching each other, it should move pretty smoothly, and this moves great. If I can spin it with my fingers over here, then we're good. And then the last part is the last little sprocket here. So over here, same thing. I'm going to give it a tiny little bit of space and then tighten it on. And now I have the Y-axis rod installed. Thanks for watching.